I think there's also a wonderful quote that W.B. Du Bois made at the start of the 20th century, and he said that the issue for the 20th century was going to be the issue of the color line. And I think what the migration does is add fulfillment to that prediction on his part, because before that, I think the issue of race and the color line was a Southern question, and one in which people in the North heard about and sort of had a sense of it, but really didn't have a real connection to it. What the migration does, both the one in World War I and the one in World War II and into the 60s, is to shift the location and a demographic center of the African American community. It's no longer sort of southern rural, but it becomes northern urban. And it means this whole question of race, the whole question of the color line, becomes a northern question as well. And I think it is that shift in location, that shift in emphasis in terms of where people are living and what they're feeling, that also helps to fuel the civil rights movement. Because one of the arguments that's made is that that generation coming out of World War II is much less willing to accept the world the way that it is. That they want something different, they want the world to change. They don't want to wait 50 years for it to happen. And so the banner words they use there are freedom now, that we want it to change to take place now. And I think the migration has an important part to do with that. And people coming north and seeing that there are other alternatives also changes that perspective. So that world in which I think everyone accepted a certain way of acting, a certain place for African Americans in the society, changes. And with that change, you have a much more aggressive African American community, but also I think a larger American society that's much more sympathetic to the need for change. You have a Supreme Court that makes decisions that it didn't make before. You have a president who steps into the fray in ways they hadn't done before. And a Congress that eventually begins to pass laws that change the way we think about these issues. I wouldn't want to say that migration is the cause for that, but I would argue that certainly that shift in the locale and the growing sensitivity to this issue certainly plays a big role in how our country changes its perspective on issues of race and discrimination.